Welcome back to another episode 35, 34. Episode 34 of the Spittin Hoops podcast. We're back after like a month-long break. Hope you guys had a good holiday vacation break. I don't know. Maybe you were working during the holidays. In that case, Happy New Year. And we'll put it, we'll leave it there. Anthony, how
Man,
are you doing? How were your holidays?
man, if you were working during the break, hopefully you got some holiday pay on top of that. Um, and you watched some good basketball because that was a good day for basketball. A lot of good days for basketball recently. Happy New Year, Max. A lot of storylines to get into. The league's heating up right now.
Dude, league's heating up. The trade deadline's right around the corner. Coming up in February, I believe second week of February. Could be wrong there. But we've already seen a trade, and we'll get to that. We're a little late covering it, obviously. But we're gonna tie up all the loose ends, and we're gonna have some fun with the draft slash rapid fire, I guess, section at the end. So I hope you guys enjoy. We're back for 2024, and the first thing we need to talk about
Gang, gang.
is the absolute worst.
Yee, yee.
Some of the worst basketball I've ever seen.
Mm.
A Monty Williams coached NBA team. They did the Detroit Pistons.
Detroit.
Last time we had a podcast, I believe it was December like 17th. That week there wasn't much going on, but on December 8th, the week of December 24th, 25th, around that time, we were really just watching the Pistons because they were going after records. And they ended up getting it, tying the league streak for most losses in a row. And it's actually the most losses in a row in a single season, 28 straight losses. But on December 28th, they would finally beat the Toronto Raptors.
I know. Dude, it's always tough to see greatness end.
I mean, it's, yeah, that's one way to put it. It's also like records are meant to be broken, but they like tied it, which was almost
Yeah.
like the most mediocre part of the whole thing.
So annoying.
It was like, of course, they couldn't even beat that record. They just
Yeah, yo.
no.
Damn.
I don't
Oh,
really have. I just want to cover it. I just want to go
yeah.
over it. I don't have that many takeaways. Like I kind of have a take. I don't know if they're that bad. I don't think they're as bad as the 2014-15 Sixers. Like I was watching basketball around then, and those. I don't know. I felt like those. I don't know. Those Sixers teams had like no shot. Like we're talking about Robert Covington being your second best player. Um, all due respect. Yeah.
Oh,
So it's a little weird that this is a team that tied the record to me, but also kind of shows you how competitive today's NBA is. Like every single game, especially those last 2 weeks, like people were trying really hard against the
mhm.
Pistons. They did not want to lose.
They did not. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, they almost beat the Celtics. Like they almost beat a bunch of teams. Shout out to the Pistons, man. 3-33. Probably gonna lose the game they play tonight. Who knows? They're playing Sacktown, so it's a good chance. Yeah, I'm with you, dude. Like,
We're gonna lose tonight. Let's be real.
also, yeah, I mean, I remember it was the day after December 26th. We were watching Nets Pistons when they were going for the record to tie the record, the first record, the 24 in or
Mhm.
26 straight, 27 straight against the Nets. And it was a close game, and half of my family was cheering for the Nets to win, like me, to keep that Piston streak alive. And then the other half was like, no, we can't keep having this. Like, they have to get a win. This is so sad. Let's go, Pistons. Detroit did not stand up that day. They finally did against the hapless Raptors, who we'll get into a bit. But yeah, bro, I mean, a better team than you'd think. Like, they play some fun games. I texted you about there was a wild game between them and the Jazz a few nights ago where first Clarkson hits a shot, a three with a few seconds left. Boyan hits a three, Markkinen hits a three, and then Alec Burks hits this like 35-foot runner three that like just was banging from straight in. And then they lose an OT because of course. So crazy stuff. They're on a new losing streak now, and we'll see how long they continue it.
Yeah, probably won't be 28 straight, but yeah, that's
So
the thing. Like even during that Jazz game, like I wasn't watching it live. You were live texting me.
yeah,
I went
no,
back and watched the highlights, and it's like games like that. Like I know the Jazz aren't like a world beating team, but like it kind of shows you that there's some sort of high level somewhere here on the Pistons. Like, I don't know. They're not, I didn't even think they should be the worst team in the league. Like, I think you could argue this team should be better than the Spurs, for example, on paper. So
Yeah.
I'm just really like kind of confused as to how they've gotten to this point. Now there's like rumors they want to buy because they've been so bad. Like, but I'm like, you can't buy if you've been bad. Like, that's not how things work. Like, I don't know. It's just a mess. Pretty disappointing situation. And I'd love to see them be better because I want to see how good Cade can be. And
Mhm.
instead, Cade just has to get double teamed for 40 minutes a game. And I'm like, this just isn't good for his development. And I don't know.
And he's out.
And he's hurt. Yeah.
And these guys just like kind of cycle through being hurt. Boyan was out for a while. Isaiah Stewart's out. Jalen Durham was out for a while. So can't get cohesion. You got a coach who like outright said, I'm doing this so I can get paid 4 years, whatever, 70 million or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just a dumpster fire. Yikes, dude. I don't think anybody saw this coming.
Nah, I don't know. There's no chance. If you say you did, you're lying.
Yeah.
Like I
Bad.
know we all thought they'd be bad, but no one
Yeah.
thought they'd be this bad.
This bad.
Um, yeah. Moving on to from bad things, we're gonna talk about probably the most fun thing that's happened
Yes,
since our
sir.
last podcast. December 30th, something we never thought could ever happen occurred. The Toronto Raptors finally sold one of their players and decided to get assets for them instead of
Great.
them waiting for free agency to walk. And OG Anunoby goes to New York City, New York Knicks, in exchange for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly in a second round pick. Alongside OG Anunoby is Precious Achua and Malachi Flynn. So this is a great fit. I mean, we've seen it already. Obviously, we get to react to it after seeing a 4 game sample size. So, that's kind of nice for us. But even in the moment, I thought this is a good trade. You're upgrading RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly is honestly like he's like the most replaceable player archetype there is, like a short scoring guard.
Mm-hmm.
He's underrated defensively for sure, which is a little bit hard to find in those short scoring guards. That's the
Mm-hmm.
tongue twister.
Ooh.
But yeah, like I thought this was a great trade for New York and then also a great trade for Toronto. Like they're just building for continuity. Quickly has already looked good. RJ's already looked good.
Yep.
And hopefully they'll get better and one day they'll build to make a trade at some point again. I don't know.
Um, yeah, I didn't hate this. Man, wait. So what direction we going with this first? Raptors. Yeah, quickly it looks good. Not shooting it. I'm shooting it pretty well from three. But putting up 17 and 5, I think that might have been expected with the increased playing time that he was going to get. Because when you're a Raptor, bro, you're a Raptor for life, like the whole lifespan of the NBA game, dude. Like there's it's kind of like the Knicks if you start. So he just went to a place where he got the start. So shout out him. They're 3-1, so that's a little exciting. They also feel like they've kind of underperformed, like talent wise. I thought they could have been a little closer to 500. Doesn't really look like it worsens their situation or betters their situation if those guys can develop into something. I mean, I feel like we usually kind of just trade for picks, which are exciting, but also not a sure thing. And these guys are a bit closer to a sure thing, but you kind of know what you're expecting from them. So, not the worst trade for the Raptors overall, I guess. Just curious where they go from here.
I mean, I feel like they're just building now. Like they're just kind of building with Scotty Barnes and seeing where it goes. Um,
What about Siakam?
well, I mean, we can get to that. We can get to
Mm.
that. That's I think we can talk about Siakam deeply later, but I mean Siakam's about to hit free agency, so connect the dots. OG was about to hit free agency. Um, if Siakam really wants to hit free agency though, he can kind of put the Raptors in a situation where he tells every other team like, "Hey guys, I'm not re-signing with you no matter what." And then no one's gonna trade for him, right? So, I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either. So, logically, I think the next step is like Siakam getting traded after this one. But also like I don't know. I honestly don't hate the idea of playing out the whole Siakam thing.
Yeah, why not?
If like I don't think a team's gonna come in and offer him a crazy amount of money. He'll probably get offered a max, but his free agency max, it's like it's like not that much. Probably what
Like a
the
it's like a
Raptors
Van
would have,
Fleet.
yeah, it's probably what the Raptors would have expected to give him anyways.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
we'll
That's an
see.
interesting, but that's an interesting situation though because Siakam is turning 30. So maybe we're saying he'd make a max, but probably not. Maybe get like a max for 2 years. Yeah, like Van Fleet. Um, but
Siakam's turning 30?
yeah, Siakam's underratedly kind of old, man.
What? Dude, that's nuts. Wow. Shout out Siakam. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, they got a good young core. I kind of like it. Good for
Oh,
them.
the Raptors, I like what they're doing. I think it's really fun. A lot of continuity. Like
Mhm.
they're like we're never gonna be terrible. We were terrible once. We got Scotty Barnes, and we think he's good, so we're gonna build around him now.
Yeah. Yeah. Unlike the Wizards, when you have a corner piece that can be good, it's okay to be mid and figure it out.
Yeah, when you have a piece like that,
Yes. Yeah.
not when
Yeah.
you have Jordan Poole.
Yeah. Not when you have Jordan Poole specifically, or Bradley Beal before that. Honestly, even he wasn't good enough. So I don't know why we expect Jordan Poole to be that.
And I mean, the Raptors were kind of like that already with DeRozan and Lowry, and they flipped DeRozan, like they were willing to go and flip DeRozan for
Mhm.
why, right? Like sometimes teams just build like that. I guess like Dame is another good example with Portland. Like they never did a true rebuild, but they were bad for a little bit after LaMarcus Aldridge. They picked CJ McCollum,
Yeah.
like things like that. Um, moving on.
Mhm.
Another topic. I think I did a little rant about the Warriors on the last pod before we left.
Mhm.
And here we are, a month later, talking about the Warriors again. Unfortunately, on January 5th, about a week after the OG Anunoby trade, there's an athletic article that comes out with Anthony Slater and Sham Charania that the Warriors, Jonathan Kuminga, has lost faith in head coach Steve Kerr. This came after Kuminga started a game and led the team in plus minus up until about halfway through the third quarter, at which point he was benched for the rest of the game, kind of out of nowhere, and then the Nuggets would pull off a 20-point comeback on the Warriors from that point on. Um, you know, did Jonathan Kuminga need to do that? I don't know. But I think for a lot of people, it might be understandable why he's so annoyed, right? A lot of playing time inconsistency, and the team's been bad. So if you're a young player who feels like he hasn't been getting minutes and the team's still bad, you feel like you should probably be playing and give him that opportunity. But I think the bigger deal is he's eligible for a rookie extension in the offseason because next year will be the last year of his rookie contract. Um, so I can kind of understand where he's coming from. I've also seen the team like closely. So I would be annoyed too. And I've been saying that they should play Kuminga and start Kuminga. So I get it, but this was aggressive. This was like a big, this was like a very outward, this is the most outward not trade request that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. From a guy that's not.
Yeah, this is not LeBron. This is not LeBron being
Yeah.
sensitive in the media after losing two straight.
Like, bro, what are we doing, man? What's going on? Why? Like, Kaminga's good. He's a good piece. He's intriguing, but like, he's not even an established like rotation starter yet on an NBA team. Like,
But we also like it. He would argue that like he hasn't even gotten the chance to play to show
yeah,
that. Like that would be Kuminga's argument, and like I think that's pretty fair. Like I think that is, although I think like Kuminga would like that would be his argument. I think he'd be fair in making that argument, but I think you're totally fair in the argument of like why are you going to Shams when I don't know. You were a seventh overall pick, you won a chip, and then you've been on a team. You haven't been able to start in a team that's been like the 10th seed for 2 straight years, you know?
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I get it. I get that he wants more minutes. I think that's fair, but like,
There was like no other NBA news that week too, so it's just like it was such a
That was the new, yeah, dude.
it
That's like
was
the regular season in December, early January to a T. Uh,
yeah.
but I mean, as far as like it goes for the Warriors, I think that there's a sorry, I just have some breaking news that I want to share. Per Adrian Wojnarowski, I just completely butchered that name. Not a player. Miami Heat coach Eric Spoelstra's contract extension includes the most committed coaching money in history, 8 years, 120 plus million. So
Jesus.
congratulations from maybe perhaps more of a losing mentality that we just discussed to a winning mentality there with the 120 extension. But dude, yeah, I don't know.
He
As
passed up Monty Williams.
dude, yeah, low exactly. What a difference in coaching, but yeah, it's tough. I mean, where do you see this going for Kuminga? You think he stays with the team? You think he rides it out? You think they look for Siakam or something in a trade?
The thing is, this is a weird situation. He didn't like ask for a trade. He was like, I've lost faith, which was almost felt
Yeah,
like a call to like fucking play me or trade me.
yeah.
But
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
yeah, it was like weird. I like it was
Yeah,
like sassy. I was like, okay.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I
Like,
was
like,
or for whatever was that what they say? Um
yeah.
with the emoji. Anyways.
You know,
Like I get it. And in my opinion, he's the third best player on the team right now. Fourth best at worst.
yeah,
While Draymond's out. He's the fourth best player on the team.
yeah.
Um behind Pajemski, Clay, and Steph, which is sad. Sad list. If the Raptors, if the last thing holding you off from a pretty fair trade is whether Kuminga's in there or not with the Raptors, I think you kind of got to do it. In an ideal world, do you really want to keep him? Obviously, because he's young and he might be good not only this year but in future years.
Mhm.
Um, but I said the word might, so there you go.
Man, Warriors, Warriors, Warriors. I can't really speak because you guys have won a chip more recently than the Celtics have. So at the end of the day, you've won four chips since we have. But man, y'all are in a spot.
I mean, there has to be a trade. Like, I'm almost not even worried because they've been so bad that there just will be a trade. Like, I'm like, like, they can't be this bad and we don't have our own first round pick. So,
Yeah.
like, we have all of our picks after this year pretty much, but just not this year's pick. So,
But who do you trade?
Wiggins. Okay, wait, I got you. If you okay, let me give you my play, okay?
All right.
We do Wiggins and Moses Moody and 3 first round picks for Siakam.
Wiggins, Moses Moody, 3 first round picks for Siakam.
I think the good chance Toronto says yes to that. You know, it is 3 first round picks. Like I think that probably puts them over the edge to say yes. But they do want young players, so maybe Moody's enough. Probably not. We probably have to give up another young guy. But then you go like after that, you do CP3 and like salary cap filler. So like Saric if you have to, like
Mm,
even GP2 if you have to. Those two guys and another 2, 3 first round picks for like Levine and Caruso. And then you win the chip.
wow.
Just no.
That's impressive.
No, but I think that's what they should do. It's like the thing is this team is like 2 trades away, so they'll make one, right? Like
Mhm.
we're not an aggressive franchise like that usually, so
Yeah.
yeah. But I think the most likely thing is we do like CP3 for Jeremy Grant and then we salary dump Andrew Wiggins. And it's like very uninspiring, and we're probably just as bad.
Dude, it just goes to show how hard it is in the NBA to stay at the top. Like even if you have a guy like Steph.
This is a starting group, like the starting group of like Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, Looney. That even last year, like per on-off numbers, was the best 5-man lineup in the league over the Nuggets 5-man lineup. This year, it's terrible. It's like mid.
They're really good.
They
Yeah.
were really they were the best lineup up until last year. Now they're mid. No, but
Yeah.
you're and like that just I don't know. It goes to show that like the NBA just flips completely like this. Like it just happens. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Did you
Yeah.
see them not making any moves and getting better?
Well, I don't know because it was like Clay's been talking about retirement-esque things. Draymond's talking about retirement-esque things. Steph is still just like casually dropping 30 and like running away from threes as they splash through the net. So, um, like, could they be weirdly like a seller and a buyer at the same time? Like, it's a, but then who do you like? It's almost like you have to flip pieces. Because you got to think like Clay Thompson could be so helpful to like a team like the Lakers.
But who are the Lakers giving us at that point?
Yeah,
And
that's true.
unfortunately, Clay's been our second best player this year, which I can't believe it.
Yeah,
He's
that's crazy.
like that's how bad like not to flame Clay, but like that's how bad the team's been. You would
Mm,
have hoped we could have found a second best player next to Steph, but it sure as hell hasn't been Draymond. He's probably like what he's been great. Draymond's been amazing actually this year when he's been on the court. He's shooting like 45% from three. Can't stay on the court and he's the biggest distraction ever. So he's out of the question. And then after that, it's like Wiggins has been terrible. Looney's
mm.
been terrible. Um, CB3 shooting like 20% from three. It's like,
Yeah, he fell off, bro.
yeah. And CP3 got hurt. I actually think the most likely thing is CP3 getting traded. I think there's a chance they try to roll with Wiggins just because maybe they can't find a deal they like. But CP3 he's expiring at the end of the year, so you just might as well,
Yeah, get something.
yeah, get some.
Yeah,
Or like just use that salary alongside a first round pick to go trade for Zach LaVine, who quote unquote had no market. Like
right.
I don't know.
Please. Ugh.
Yeah, sorry. And
Warriors, Warriors.
Warriors, Warriors, Warriors. We'll probably talk about them again in the next podcast at this rate. Yeah, so we'll move on. And we're actually gonna do a little standings watch.
Yes, sir.
Uh, we're gonna cover the NBA standings. Uh, Anthony, your team, the Boston Celtics. We can finally talk about them now. We'll get off
Finally.
the schneid with their name. First in the East, 28-8, looking like honestly the best team in the NBA. In terms of consistent performances, plus like how we've seen them perform in the playoffs previously. Just overall really good. Porzingis has missed time. Team hasn't missed a beat. Um, Finding minutes with new young guys. I'm blanking on the guy you guys picked up from the Kings. The bench dude.
Um, we just traded for him this
No,
season or beforehand.
he's new. You guys signed him after training camp. I'm blanking.
You're not talking about Svi, are you?
No, is it like
Well, the guys, I mean, the guys I like have been O'Shea Brissett has been pretty good off the bench.
oh
And then Heda and Neemias,
yeah, yeah.
he's been a good big body that like if he can keep playing, he's had a couple great games. So if he can kind of keep that up, I'd be happy to have him in case we have to face the Sixers or just another team with bigs in the playoffs at some point. I like the team a lot. They're very well balanced. I think the depth is starting to come into its own a little bit. Still some question marks there. I wouldn't mind if they got like a more established bench adjacent guy. But yeah, I don't know. There's a couple teams I'm a little bit worried about, namely the Pacers, the Heat, and the Magic in the Eastern Conference. If they were to play the Warriors, I would be so mad because I just don't care how good or bad you guys seem. It just you guys are kryptonite. So I think it's all mental, dude. That's what it feels like for me. I don't know. I don't know. They can beat themselves if Tatum can play how good he can.
I think that's pretty fair. You guys have looked like you've looked the part, and I think like unfortunately it's like the NFL right now. There's a clear favorite in both conferences, and they'll probably go at it in the finals. And um I don't know.
Who in the West?
In
You
the
think
West, the
Nuggets are
Nuggets. The
clear favorites?
Nuggets.
Whoa.
Come on, come on, come on.
Oh, I don't know about that.
The Nuggets have a top four record in the league right now. And Jamal Murray missed a bunch of time.
I don't know, dude. The West is tougher than it was last year, I think.
Nuggets are 8-2 in the last 10.
Dude, I just like the Thunder are so nice. Like they really put the clamps on us.
Oh, I
Like,
mean, I think the Thunder are fantastic, but I think the Nuggets also just match up really well against the Thunder. Like Jokic is just gonna destroy Chet for
yeah.
6 straight games. Like as good as Chet is, like
Hmm.
that that's like the type of guy Jokic is just gonna feast on. Like
Or bro, the Clippers though.
yeah, fourth in the West. It's funny, they're 7-3 in their last 10. We were talking about them like sound the alarm like 4 podcasts ago when they were
Mm,
0-5 after the Harden trade. Um
bro, they look good.
They look good.
They look really good.
I hate to admit it because like I don't know. I don't want to admit that the Clippers are gonna potentially make a run at this, but they really might.
Bro, they crushed the Suns last night too.
Yeah, but the Suns are
I mean,
Suns, Warriors, Lakers, same combo.
and they did lose to the Lakers. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, I mean, they've beaten some teams recently. Um,
They've been
L's,
for sure been playing well.
Heat, but yeah, Knicks,
And
Kings,
the team like starts to like make sense in my head for the first time. Like it didn't before at the time of the trade, if that makes sense.
and bro, Kawhi's playing out of his mind right now. He's so good, dude.
He's so good. He's so good, dude. It's like insane. Like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how they're figuring it out so well. I'm just worried about them in the playoffs if they play anyone who scores on the inside. But I mean, even against the Nuggets, for example, like that's a team that could probably just slash like on as much as Jokic might score 40, Kawhi might
Mhm.
also score 40 against the
Exactly.
Nuggets. Like
Who's stopping him?
the way that it lines up. Yeah. I
Yeah.
will say shout out to Michael Porter Jr. I feel like his defense has gotten a little bit better. I'd like from bad defender to like league average.
Yeah. I mean,
That's not the difference in it,
yeah.
but like any margin
It's,
helps.
at this point, yeah. And they have the championship experience, right? Like to your point. So I do
Aaron
think that's
Gordon, Aaron Gordon's got that dog in him.
dude, he does. He's good. And I like their young guys. Peyton
Didn't he?
Watson's still playing really well. Christian Brown's still playing well.
Dude, Peyton Watson cooked the Warriors. It hurt me so much, dude.
Yeah. Nuggets are no joke,
They are no joke.
but definitely
That's
the least. Yeah, yeah.
that in the West, I mean, that's the only notable thing. I mean, in my eyes, like the Lakers and the Suns. I think we'll get to the Lakers later. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Um, So now we're just gonna kind of go through. We're gonna run through the rumor mill real quick. Give you a little timeline from oldest to soonest. So on December 28th, A-Rod and Mark Lore, A-Rod, the baseball A-Rod, finalized their acquisition of the Minnesota Timberwolves from Glenn Taylor. This might not seem that notable to some listeners who might be like not super familiar with Glenn Taylor. But Glenn Taylor's been the owner of this team for decades now. And he's not had the best rap around the league, frankly. Specifically, this kind of started in the early 2000s with Kevin Garnett. They were trying to build a winner around him. They weren't able to. They eventually had to trade him. The fans were pissed, but they understood. They were mostly pissed that the team couldn't build something around him. But at some point, Glenn Taylor was rumored to have given or made a handshake deal with Kevin Garnett about giving him an option to buy back in to the ownership group at a certain rate once he retired. Um, when Kevin Garnett was nearing the end of his career, he actually went back to Minnesota, spent a few years on the bench, remember?
yep.
Finally retires, goes to Glenn, says, Yo, I'm ready. And let's just say Kevin Garnett is not part of the ownership group. So
Wow.
we don't know what happened there.
That's messed up.
And Kevin Garnett has actually really been vocal about separating himself personally a little bit from the T-Wolves organization. When he retired, he felt like he had retired like a T-Wolf. And interestingly enough, now I feel like he reps the Celtics. He's really kind of
Okay.
changed his affiliation in that way.
Leave green.
So I just thought that was interesting. Glenn Taylor just doesn't have the greatest rapper in the league, and
Mm.
um, I mean, frankly, he's like 90 years old. Um, and now A-Rod's gonna own that franchise, and it's kind of cool that Ant Edwards is on that team.
Bro, yeah, and if you think about it, like, of course he's 90 because he's just been always about like big guys, KG, and then he was like, all right, we'll take Al Jefferson. Then he was like, all right, we'll try Kevin Love, and then he's like,
Yeah,
all right, we'll try Cat,
Cat.
and then
Yeah.
we'll try Rudy Gobert, and um, just
The one time he ever didn't do it was with Wiggins, and it's because he thought it was Michael Jordan.
yeah, and then he was like, nah, Steph Curry's not our fit, like we're good. Yeah,
Speaking of
so
which, on January 4th, Ricky Rubio retired.
yeah,
Shout out, big
dude,
ups.
yeah,
Have a great career. He's been out of the NBA actually for a little bit now, dealing with a mental health issue.
hmm
But former T Wolf, I'll never forget the Hoops mixtapes. He was the first I think in our era, the first European guy where we're like watching YouTube videos and like trying to see him, if I remember correctly. I remember in the silver medal game or maybe it was the gold medal game against Team USA, and he was playing for Team Spain. He was 17. He put up like 20, 25 points or something like that, and very impressive performances. And I'll always remember that. And then obviously his NBA career on the T Wolves, on the Suns, etc. Hope he's doing okay.
yeah, man. Um, Dude, yeah, it sucked to hear this. I really liked Ricky Rubio. I always wish that the Celtics had been able to acquire him. We did that point guard Mount Rushmore, and he kind of reminds me of the type of point guard that I was sort of trying to envision a bit for that podcast. Um, then just sad, like for himself, like kind of going through mental health, just kind of speaks to it. Like you can be an NBA player, and we've seen this with other guys, and just really be struggling. And um, yeah, I fantastic point guard. He could have helped Cleveland a lot, dude. When he got injured, that was a very underrated injury, that ACL tear that he had.
He was
Um,
still good. He was still good up until like what last year? Like,
yeah, like averaging like 8 assists, like great backup point guard to Garland.
yeah.
Um, I honestly think like when he got injured, it kind of threw off their rhythm.
I totally agree. Like that was their three guard rotation, and they always had like two of those three guys on the court. And
Mm-hmm.
they that way, Karis LeVert was like a true small forward, even though
Right.
he's kind of a true shooting guard in himself. But
Yeah.
like I don't know, you're right. Like the team made a little bit more sense.
Yeah. And,
Um,
even before Donovan Mitchell got there, like with
yeah,
just Garland and like when they like lost in the plan, I feel like he's there. They don't lose. Just a great player, man. Always tough to see something like that happen. But
Side note, did you see the reporter who asked LeBron about it?
oh my lord, yo,
Dude, that was so funny. That
that
was
was insane. Yeah, gave that man a whole lecture.
yeah. Well, I was like, I mean, I just felt like if you're Ricky Rubio, that probably sucks. You don't want LeBron to get asked about your retirement while LeBron's pissed. Like,
Yeah, and he
uh,
still gave like a very classy
yeah,
answer, but he was like, he was a great player. Why are you asking me this right now?
he did. Yeah, the heinous.
So true.
Um,
Read the room.
January 5th.
Mm.
Now we get to the Siakam stuff. This is when the Siakam stuff really broke wide open because January 5th is the Kuminga report day that came out. But it was also the day that Shams Charania went on the FanDuel show that they do with Chandler Parsons and Michelle Beadle. And he reported that the Kings and Raptors were in deep talks over Siakam. Um, and that was around like 12 o'clock noon West Coast time. And the Kings and the Raptors were playing each other either the day after or that day maybe. But then 5 hours later, he goes back and he quote tweets the video and he says, this trade has like fallen through. If it were to talks were to start again, the Raptors would need to be the one to instigate it,
Yeah.
which was really weird to me. That I don't know. Rumor has it, like the rumor has it, just based off the reaction and whatnot, that the Toronto might have asked for Keegan or Malik Monk, but Sham saying that Toronto is going to step back is a little, I don't know.
Well, so a Sacramento uh, radio show called D'Lo and KC, who talk about the Kings, apparently were saying
Yeah.
yesterday that they broke down when the Kings when he told the Kings that he wasn't going to resign Siakam. Um, and the Kings, all they had was a package primarily built around Harrison Barnes and some draft assets. So, I mean, which kind of makes sense, right? Like he needs to be somewhat assured that he's going to want to stay on that team. Like you don't want to give up too much if you're the team trading for Siakam right now, unless you're a great destination.
Yeah, it kind of makes me feel like the Kings offered Harrison Barnes them first based off knowing Siakam wouldn't resign, but
Mm-hmm.
if he did resign, they might offer a little bit more. Like they kind of have a logjam with like Herter, Davion Mitchell, Malik Monk, Fox. Like they have some extra pieces they can part with,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to lose Trey Lyles, but Trey Lyles and Siakam, like that's pretty
Yeah.
similar type. As much as Trey Lyles can play at the five though, which is nice, but
And Siakam can too, at
yeah,
times.
at times, yeah. Um, I don't know. The Siakam stuff's really interesting. It really feels like he's gonna get traded, and Toronto knows it, and Siakam probably knows it, and they're just trying to run up the price. And because the more that the team gives up to bring Siakam in, the more likely it is Siakam can just bend them over the barrel for a ton of cash.
Hey, absolutely, yo, they can.
Yeah.
Uh, the one thing I think about is like, is that a great trade for the Kings? Because Siakam shooting like 30% from three this year and Sabonis. So that kind of creates a question of like you're jamming up the paint. And what do you do in that scenario? Not that Siakam can't play in a more versatile role than like a Cat Gobert kind of situation, but I think that's like one of the questions where I'd be curious for the Kings, who kind of like are all about like offense, high octane shooting.
I
Do you
mean,
see it?
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Like Harrison Barnes shoots 40% from three. So like, there's levels. I'm trying to think like what you would have Fox, Herder slash Malik, whatever.
Yeah.
Keegan Murray at the three, Siakam at the four, Sabonis at the five. I
Because
mean,
Fox a great shooter.
yeah, I don't know. I do think the Siakam Sabonis front court could work, but you're just getting slammed. Like defensively, you're just gonna get slammed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'd be cool,
Yeah.
but if you don't have to give up too much, why not give it a shot? And if he balls out for you guys, then great. If you make a playoff run, then great. Maybe offer him contract. But if not, okay, well, you gave up Harrison Barnes. You can do a lot better than that.
But it's gonna be the draft capital. Like if they give up a lot of draft capital, like
Yeah.
they're gonna
That
have to
definitely.
resign for a while.
Yeah. Right.
Uh,
So
Kind of
tricky.
curious situation. Um,
Yeah.
Also January 5th, CP3 got hurt.
Yeah.
Probably the last game that he'll ever play on the Warriors.
Sheesh.
He doesn't get a eulogy, unfortunately. It didn't last long enough, but I feel like he was always a professional, and it's not his fault, this situation. Like he could have been 32-year-old Chris Paul, and this team still would have been bad.
No, I don't know about that.
Right, 34.
He could have been like Phoenix Suns Chris Paul.
Yeah, and this team still would have
Early,
been just bad.
early, yeah, and they would have sucked. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Like this, none of this was his fault, but he is like a luxury player. Like going into the season, you're like you want him to be a new aspect, a luxury player at that. And when you're a bad team, you can't have luxury players that are max contracts.
Yeah, that's very true.
Um, so
Yeah.
that's
He'd
all
be
I
a
can
great
say.
asset, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean he'll be a great salary matcher because if you have Zach LaVine and you're worried about paying him for the next 4 years, you can just trade him straight up for CP3 and CP3 expires in the offseason. And I keep using Zach LaVine as an example. That's not going to happen. Zach LaVine is worth more than that, I would hope.
Yeah,
But yeah,
hopefully.
I would hope. January 6th, though,
Hey, yo.
no comment.
Yep.
Anthony, where we're so January 6th, Lakers and LeBron, they've been on a cold streak for a bit. And, LeBron gets interviewed and he just says, "We just suck right now." And
Mm,
Frankly, they do. The only two good players on that team that are performing day in, day out, Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Anthony, on our last pod, we discussed, are we all the way in or all the way out on the Lakers? And you said you might be coming back in. And I told you I'm back in on AD, but I'm still out on the Lakers. And I don't know if either of us have seen enough to change either of our opinions. But it does feel like a trade's coming here too.
Yeah, I won't back out all the way.
Yeah.
When you got those two guys, but it just doesn't look good. I like that they beat the Clippers, so I feel like they can still beat good teams sometimes. And they were really good in the in-season tournament, so they have these stretches. And then last year they were really good when it mattered as well. So it's like kind of like this weird like pseudo heat culture type thing with LeBron. But I even saw a report to your point about just the depth of this team and how you should never trade with Heat, because if they're trading a player, it's because they know that they don't have value anymore. Maybe Strus is a an exception to that rule because he's been pretty good for the Caps, but yeah, Gabe Vincent's been out just in general. Max Christie tends to be like picking up heavy bench minutes. Torian Prince. It's
Torian
just
Prince and Cam Reddish are playing like it's a college basketball game. Like they're playing 30 minutes a game. I'm like, dude, like
yeah,
it's not 2012.
yeah. Like those just can't be your the guys ratting out
If
your
they're getting 10 minutes a game on your team, you're in a really good spot. But if you're getting 30 minutes, you're in like a really bad spot. It's
yeah,
like there's no in between for those
right.
two.
Yeah.
And the Lakers fans going through the Cam Reddish experience and like getting to enjoy him for 2 games before he goes back to being Cam Reddish is always fun.
5 games and then yeah.
That's what he does on every team,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, do you see them making a move? Do you think they need to make a move? And do you see Darvin Ham getting fired?
I don't necessarily see him getting fired. They are at 500, well, about halfway into the season, so better than they were last year at this time. They're the reigning Western Conference Finals runner-up, so I know things move quick in the NBA, but we got to see what they can do. It's not like they can't. They're still in puncher's range of being a competitive playoff team. So they did it last year, I think, where they beat some prospective odds, where they beat a young team in the Grizzlies that was trying to, punch in. So could they do the same in a couple of these rounds? As 20 minutes ago, I was saying that these teams are going to knock out the Nuggets, but it could happen. So I don't know, man. This team just has so much to go. I'm honestly, whenever I watch them, I just love watching LeBron James play, just because it's great to be able to see and witness that greatness.
Even now at his age, he's just like dunking on people like he did last night. I'm
That
like,
was crazy, bro.
dude, like what is going on?
That was a crazy poster on Paul George.
It's unfortunate because they could be good. Like the AD LeBron pairing on paper might still be the best 1-2 pairing in the league. Like,
Yeah.
so it's unfortunate. I hope they upgrade. The thing is the market is going to be expensive this year because a lot of teams really want to buy.
Yeah.
There are a good amount of teams selling, probably a little bit more than usual, but there's more buyers than usual for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. January 8th, Draymond gets reinstated. He's set to play within a week or so. He's gonna have missed around 15 games by the time he comes back. I don't have much to say about this. We'll talk about Draymond at some point when he gets suspended the next time. Like,
Yeah. I'm
uh,
glad you didn't retire. Um,
yeah.
like respectfully, can you respectfully, of course, can you not always make it about how you're the victim in the situation though?
Yeah.
Like once can you take some ownership and not say like I shouldn't have done this, but like, bro, it, I can't keep doing this anymore. You're a 4-time champ. You're recognized as a top world, like widely recognized top 100 player of all time, Hall of Famer, uh, Depoy, All Stars, All NBA. Like, just, dude, what? You're not being persecuted. Nobody's coming for you. You've had the longest leash of practically any player in the NBA, not named LeBron James. Um, I don't know. I just think it's ridiculous. Like talking about like I can't handle this Adam Silver. Please help me out. And he's like, of course I will because you're a great player and you should be in the league. But like, dude, yeah, I don't know. You just want a chip. Like,
You just got a $100 million contract.
yeah, man. Like Ricky Rubio retired quietly because of his mental health problems, but like everybody handles theirs in different ways. And I mean, whatever's going on with Draymond, like we'll see. Maybe it's a new perspective. But even I even heard Pajemski like welcomed him back, and he was like, "Thank God you're back." And Draymond was like, "You shouldn't be receiving my coming back like this. Like I'm not worthy of this. Like I don't know what he's doing."
Well, I mean, I think that I'm not worthy of this is right. You don't get to slap someone and then get an applause when you come back, like honestly. So I hope, I don't know. That's like like, and to me, I'm like, oh, nice quote. Like, let's
Yeah,
see
I
it.
get
Like,
it.
I'm kind of done with the quotes. Like, or like the Steve Kerr going to his house. Steve, you weren't busy enough coaching the Warriors? You see what's going on in the court? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I mean, if he can turn it around, look out. Because him with Steph is very dangerous.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like he is truly the second best player on this team over the last like 3, 4 years at this
Yeah.
point. And like I know I'm roasting Steve Kerr for going to see Draymond, but if you can get Draymond back on the court somehow, that's really going to help everyone's situation out, especially the way Steve wants to run the offense. So we'll see how
Hmm.
that goes. I also don't think the way Draymond plays, he's not going to need a lot of ramp up time, like they call it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just
um,
yeah.
yeah. January 8th, which was yesterday as well. Tyrese Halliburton hamstring strain out 3 weeks. Not a huge deal, but we're definitely going to see them free fall a little bit more in the Eastern Conference standings as we saw previously. Um, could see them kind of going towards the plans. Um, the Pacers, that is. I'm not gonna lie though, the injury looked a lot worse. So that was kind of why I wanted to talk about it. I honestly thought he was gonna be out 12 months.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank goodness that he's fine. Like, yeah, just such a talented and exciting player.
Yeah.
Um, I will circle back to him in a little bit with a stat I want to throw your way. But yeah, dude, he's a pleasure to watch. He's amazing. I have him as an all-star starter. Yeah, just completely revitalized this Pacers team. I'm
Yeah.
over Maxi.
Yeah, me too. Me
So
too.
yeah.
Um, and then another point guard who was less fortunate.
Mm.
John Morant actually tore his labrum during practice, had a quick MRI. He's going to be out for the year. Pretty unfortunate situation. The Grizzlies are top 5 in defense since Ja came back, actually, which is kind of a crazy stat that their defense got better with Ja coming. Um, but they've also been really good. They slammed the Lakers a few nights ago by like 15 and really
Mhm.
started, I don't know, furthering the Lakers trade rumors. And just an unfortunate situation all around. Like he comes back, he gets suspended. It's sad. They're terrible. But when he comes back, they start winning. They're really good, and then he gets hurt
Mhm.
instantaneously. It's like
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yeah. I wonder if they look to make some trades here. Some vets like, do you try to move Marcus Smart?
Yeah,
You
that's a
let
good question. Like you're obviously you're not moving Desmond Bain or Jaren Jackson at this point,
right.
but if someone's offering you the two firsts that you gave up to like get Marcus Smart, if they're offering you two firsts back for him,
Mhm. Like,
gotta
why
think
not?
about it.
Yeah.
Um, and then today, actually, the
Mm.
last rumor, just an interesting one. This is probably the driest rumor of them all, but it was just jams kind of throughout that the Spurs have exploratory interest. That was the quote in DeJounte Murray. Um, I don't think DeJounte Murray is getting traded to the Spurs, but I thought this was interesting because my assumption was that DeJounte Murray would be getting bought by a team like the Knicks. Like the Knicks would like go out and go try to get DeJounte Murray to get better. This kind of feels like teams might be targeting DeJounte Murray as a long-term piece rather than a win now piece. Um, which I mean makes sense because the Hawks are trying to win now. If people view DeJounte Murray as a win now piece, wouldn't the Hawks just keep him? Um,
Who do you
so
think would look good going back to the Hawks from the Spurs?
that's the thing. I don't see it. It would have to be 3 team, I feel like.
If it was just the Hawks and the Spurs, could you think they could make a trade? Who do you send back?
I'm not giving up first if I'm the Spurs, and like I'm not
Yeah.
giving up any first round picks that are within the next 3 years. Because I don't know how good Wemby is, and if Wemby gets hurt, like I'm giving up the first overall pick, like
Mhm. Yeah.
um so like maybe like a 2026 first round pick. Um I don't want to trade Sochan. I actually kind of like Sochan, but he hasn't been that good. So like
Not been that
let's say
good.
Zach Collins' contract
Trey
and
Jones.
Trey Jones. I like Trey Jones too, but he's gotten more minutes next to Wemby, and it still hasn't looked great for him. Um,
Lot though.
is it a
Like
lot?
he's started like 3 games this entire year. He's averaged like 22 a game. Last season he averaged 13 and 6 a game. In April of last season, averaged 18, 10, and 6. Um, he's finally playing more minutes and he's playing a bit better. He's terrible from three, but I've just seen clip after clip of Sochan just missing Wemby for easy baskets. Um,
Oh, Trey Jones definitely has more value.
and when Wemby's on the court, this is just like a side tangent rant that I have like picked up, but this is probably from like maybe 3 weeks ago. These stats, but Wemby shoots 70% on the court with on 2 point field goals with Trey Jones and 46% without him. Like this man knows how to get Wemby the ball. So why wouldn't you have the guy that can make your best asset even better play more often? I don't really get it. He's the only Spur with 20 or more clutch minutes and no turnovers. I just think it's crazy. Also, he's on my fantasy team, so it's very annoying that he hasn't been given more minutes. But personally, I don't know, man. I think that the Spurs should play him a little more. But if they don't, then DeJounte Murray would look great with uh with Wemby.
Well, I agree with you. I actually think like Trey Jones is like really good, and like there's probably zero reason they aren't. Like, how are you not playing the young point guard who's coming off a promising year? Like, how are you not playing him 33 minutes a game next to a center? Like, just just do it.
Like they're
And
not
also,
good.
and
Like
also Sochan makes the most sense as a power forward, low key, next to Wembanyama, who's
mhm.
playing the center in like some small ball lineup. So I
Yep.
feel like they also kind of,
Estelle, Keldon Johnson. That's your
yeah,
team.
that's your boom.
It's
Like,
so simple.
yeah,
Like it's literally so simple. And they're like, no. I don't know. I guess we know more than Pop, but like,
yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of weirdness there where like Vassell's a score first player. Like Vassell's a score first player, Keldon's a score first player.
yeah,
Trey Jones is not necessarily score first, but he's not like averaging 10 assists a game. And like
right.
Sochan is there. So like, I don't know. I would love to see Gordon Hayward on the Spurs really randomly, but
Damn. That's a pull.
I just think the ball would move well and
Mm,
he would like be pretty good.
I see that.
Like Keldon Johnson and Gordon Hayward statistically are pretty similar, but like Gordon Hayward keeps the ball moving a lot better.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
He
just
doesn't sit on it.
yeah.
Yeah. I see that.
But it is what it is.
Mm.
That's all that I've got from the rumor mill, Anthony.
Mm.
Um,
All right.
do you want to move into the
Yeah, let's do it. So we were just talking about Halliburton. So I'm gonna ask you if you can even guess. Um, so weirdly, so Halliburton's out, sucks, leading the league with 12.45 assists. Um, you know how in fantasy sometimes assists are counted as more value than rebounds because typically the league leader in assists is averaging fewer assists than the league leader in rebounds is. So a lot more players average 10 boards per game. You see a double double, it's more likely to be a rebound and point double double, right?
Mhm.
Um, so Halliburton is averaging 12.45 assists, and Sabonis is leading the league with 12.83. And I thought that was a bit surprising how close the league leader in assists was to the league leader in rebounds. And I was curious if I did a little random deep dive and I looked, and I think I'm accurate in this, at least going back to the merger. There are two players who have led them leading the league in assists has been more than the league leader in rebounds. And I'm curious if you could name who they are.
Wait, the league leader in assists having more assists than the league leader in rebounds having rebounds is what you're saying.
Correct. Where it's happened where they actually had a higher value.
How many times has it happened?
It's happened 3 times, I believe, since the merger when I saw. And
Is one of them a Stockton year, one of them a Rondo year?
one of them is a Stockton year. The one I picked pulled was his career high, 89-90 season. He averaged 14.2 assists to Akeem's 14.01 boards.
I don't want to say a Magic year because I feel like people rebounded the ball really well during that time, but I'll say Magic.
It was not Rondo. It is not Magic, but you're closer with Magic time wise than you are with Rondo.
Well, it's not Oscar Robertson because that was like way too far. Damn, who's the big assist leader? Isaiah Thomas?
Yeah.
Wow. What
13,
year?
13 84, 85.
Wow.
He averaged 13.8 assists to Moses Malone's 13.05 rebounds. So he almost a full assist more per game than Moses did per rebound.
That's
Um, so anyways, that is one of the most random stats that I found. And nice work guessing it.
I'm pretty happy about that.
So I don't know if it ever happens and Halliburton comes back and he's healthy and he qualifies and he is dishing the ball out like crazy. And Sabonis's rebound numbers go down, then we might have something. So anyways, that's my random fact. And then I'm going to throw a few guys' names at you. I don't really need more than like a couple, like give me as much analysis, as much or as little as you want. But I'm going to ask you a bunch of players and you're going to tell me if you think that they're going to make the Hall of Fame or not. You're going to
Oh,
if you think that they should make the Hall of Fame or not. And then also if you think that they will.
well, is this active players or players that are retired already?
All of these players are either active or have recently retired.
Okay.
Okay. The first player on my list is Kevin Love.
No. Yes. No.
Mm,
No. No.
why not?
Like when he was at his statistical peak, he wasn't good enough. Like the teams he was on wasn't good enough, and like he's been good as like a quote unquote role player, but not like otherworldly as a quote unquote role player. Um,
Yep.
but if I do remember, like Vlade Divac made the Hall of Fame, I think, as a player, I think. And
Was that maybe also because it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, so they might have included Europe?
yeah, maybe like international performances. So I don't know enough context behind that selection, but
Yeah.
that was kind of my initial comparison. That was like, is he better than Vlade?
A standard I've gone for is Mitch Richmond.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mitch, the guy who shouldn't have, everyone said he should have made the Hall of Fame until he made it, and then everyone said he shouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's first one. Second one, a little closer to your heart. Iggy.
Iggy? Yeah, probably. I think he's had more of an influence on like winning championships than a lot of the guys who made the Hall. But he's definitely like a difficult argument. But like I think Ben Wallace making the Hall helps his case, right? Ben Wallace made it 2 years,
Yep.
3 years
Yep.
ago, three
I
years
see
ago.
that.
So I think that kind of helps his case in terms of like, Ben Wallace won a chip, but Ben Wallace was like the fifth best player on that team, although he was the best defensive player in the league.
Yeah.
Iggy was like the best role player.
Yeah.
It's difficult because the role player doesn't have like a award, right? But
Yeah. It's tricky because I'm kind of thinking of like Michael Cooper, who did win depoys and like many first team all defense, but is not in the Hall of Fame. But
I would need to deep dive also the history of NBA Finals MVPs making Hall of
true.
Fames. I think that is probably like I feel like the hit rate of you if
It's
you
it's
win a
high.
Finals MVP, you pretty much got to make the Hall of Fame every time, right?
It's yeah.
And
It's very
Iggy was a good player before then too.
yeah.
Obviously not a Hall of Fame player before.
Yeah. Cedric Maxwell on the Celtics is one guy I can think of, but not too many guys did not make the Hall of Fame.
And he's got
Yeah.
4 chips too. It's
Yeah.
not one chip like Ben Wallace.
True. Okay. Next, Kyle Lowry.
Nah.
No. All right. Fair enough.
I think he's like just under because there's guys like T Mac who made it where I'm like, T Mac was like really good for like 4 seasons, but it's like, but Lowry was never close to as good as T Mac.
Hmm. Okay. DeMar.
No,
No. Okay.
I just
Uh,
he might though. He might make it. I mean, he'll go down as the best Raptor of all time, right? So
or Kyle Lowry.
or Kyle Lowry, probably Kyle Lowry actually. Now that I mention it,
Yeah.
yeah, that probably hurts actually DeMar's case then.
Yeah.
If he was gonna for sure go down to history as the best Raptor, I mean, that'd help him a lot.
Yeah. All right. I got three more.
All right.
LaMarcus Aldridge.
Okay. I don't think so.
Hmm.
I don't know. We watched him. He's a good player. I don't know if he was ever top 10. Played for 15 years. It's like, did he ever make it past the second round of the playoffs? Like even when he was an old guy?
No, I don't think so. Once with the Spurs when he was older, but they got swept.
No, probably a no there then.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Two more. Marcus All.
I think he should. I think he should. And he's the best player in Grizzlies history, and then he won a chip at the back end of his career and like actually was like a contributor on that team.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Fair.
I don't know.
Last but not least, current Grizzly player, Derrick Rose.
No.
No.
But I will say, out of everyone
It's
you mentioned, it's interesting. That's a great one to cap it off because it's like out of everyone you mentioned, who is the most notable in NBA history? By far, it would be Derrick Rose out of all those guys. Even more so,
highest peak.
yeah, highest peak MVP. Ah,
Mhm.
it's like 4 years, and as
Yeah.
high as the peak was, we're not talking a Bill Walton peak, you know.
Right. Yeah. Not a
Um,
Finals MVP and an MVP.
Yeah, we're not talking about and it's not and no flame again. It's not like as a role player he lit up the world either, you know.
Mm, yeah.
What's your take? What's your answers for that list, especially the last three?
Um, I teeter with D Rose, but I want to lean yeah. Um, but DeRozan I lean yeah, and that's because he had some quote about like look at every single guy that has more points in the NBA's history than me. They're all in the Hall of Fame. And I think he's going to keep climbing that leaderboard. And I think there's something to be said for like that longevity.
Well,
No, I just kind of, yeah, yeah,
DeRozan can still play for a bit too.
yeah, yeah. He's got that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just kind of thinking about like guys who are borderline Hall of Famers, especially after we did that Hall of Very Good draft, and a lot of these guys would be in it. Um, so, um, yeah, this is where it came from. But I think if any of them made it or didn't make it, I wouldn't be mad enough to be like frustrated, and that's kind of how I created this list.
Okay. Nah, I like that list actually. I'm trying to think now. I'm like trying to think of like guys or other guys right now who might be fringe. I mean, okay, going at this pace, does Jaylen Brown make a Hall of Fame?
Right, that's a good question. Yeah, that's like a good example. Like Blake Griffin.
Oh, because Blake had a what top three in MVP voting one year.
Yeah, he did.
Well, this is funny. I was actually talking about this with some people yesterday. It's like who's coming up in the upcoming Hall of Fame. Like next year, I think the Hall of Fame class is probably gonna be pretty mid. But after that, it's guys like Marc Gasol, like Joakim Noah, and
Mm,
like Melo is in 2026 probably.
hmm
Like he'll make the Hoff for sure.
Yeah,
But I
he
think
would
like
for
yeah.
sure.
Joakim Noah, I think, is also really interesting because he won a DPOY, no, and
He
then
did.
was top three in MVP voting as well. And like, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think he rings as true as like Blake Griffin, but
Or even D Rose, obviously, yeah.
yeah. Right, right, right. So damn, but that's yeah.
It's gonna
I
be
would be
tough.
pissed if Joakim Noah made the Hall of Fame. I won't lie. If Joakim Noah made,
You would be pissed?
I would be pissed. Yeah, that would bother me. The standard's too low then.
Yeah. I
Because
think
then I'll
yeah, I mean I think the standard's pretty low, right?
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. But Ben Wallace, like the thing is like Ben Wallace making it, like that's my comparison to Joakim Noah, but Ben Wallace won a chip and he was
And he
better.
won four defense.
Yeah. And he was better. He was
Yeah.
as much as like Joakim Noah's peak, he was doing more stuff than Ben Wallace. Like, I don't know.
Mm. Yeah.
Well,
All right.
I think that covers everything that I want to talk about. It's been a long break. Glad to
Yes,
be
sir.
back. I guess also fans, you guys might start seeing some different overlays and I don't know, graphics with the podcast. Like if you like certain ones, like let us
Mm.
know and
Please.
bear with us while we're toying with them. But yeah.
We love feedback from all of our wonderful fans.
Yes.
So thank you guys. But y'all rest up. If you live somewhere in the Northeast, bundle up. It's been chilly recently. If you live in the Southwest, then you live a good life. And other than that, next, there's some basketball games on we might have to watch.
I have to catch up.
Yes, sir. Y'all be easy. We'll be chilling here, Spittin Hoops.
Yeah.